Yusuke Ninomiya, known as Yu, lost the use of his legs when he was a baby after being the only survivor of a plane crash. He has no idea about who his parents are. Although he is an orphan, he doesn't pity himself. In fact, he is grateful because a kind lady who owns a flower shop took him in and raised him as her own. There, he meets his adoptive older sister, Saki. As a child in the hospital, he meets an old man pointing a cane at the sky. According to the man, he can use magic and visit another world. He says that the world they live in is connected to another one, and whoever is chosen can travel back and forth. Yu's eyes start to marvel at this possibility and he wishes to travel to that world too. The man smiles at him and tells him that people's lives are linked between the two parallel worlds, and they have the same interests and characteristics in both. Yu visits the old man again before getting discharged from the hospital. He says he will also leave for the other world soon. Yu asks him if he can join him, but the old man laughs and says that only chosen heroes can go. So if he becomes one, he's sure that he can travel to the other world as well. One day, Yu sees Haru being attacked by a dog. He throws a rock at it and bravely takes the damage to save the other boy. After the encounter, the two introduce themselves to each other and become friends. Haru happily looks at him while saying that they are alike and seem like two of a kind. Years later, they are still friends, even though Yu is literally seventh-wheeling Haru and his girlfriend Katona. While the couple tries their best not to make Yu feel left out, there are times that he can't go to the places they want to visit due to his disability. Secretly, Yu admires Katona from a distance, but since his friend is her boyfriend, he feels frustrated and keeps his feelings to himself. While at home, he receives a call from Katona asking for help because someone is following her. Which makes no sense, because she's calling the guy who can't walk over her own boyfriend or the police. He asks for her location and Saki gives him a ride. After a while, he finally finds Katona only to see her getting stabbed by an assassin wearing a black cloak. The perpetrator runs away just as Haru arrives. Haru quickly carries her to the hospital and Yu follows, but while they're crossing the road, they meet Truck Kun and get isekai'd. When they open their eyes, they find themselves in an unfamiliar place called Evermore. They get up to search for Katona, and Yu casually starts walking without realizing it, despite spending most of his life bound to a wheelchair. Haru quickly points it out and they hug each other out of joy. While wandering around, Yu realizes that they're in a completely new world, as there are demi-humans around. He theorizes that since his legs are functional in this dimension, then Katona's wound is probably healed as well. They ask the locals if they have seen her, describing their friend, until the locals show them a poster of the Princess Astrid, who looks exactly like Katona. Without second thoughts, they head to the castle to see Astrid. They sneak in through the carriage of some magical healers requested by the king, and arrive at the princess's room to see Astrid lying on the bed with the same injury as Katona. The healers start their ritual to remove the knife in Astrid's stomach, but due to powerful dark magic, they vanish into thin air and fail to save her. The people in the room leave and Haru and Yu take it as an opportunity to get closer to Astrid. Yu tries to pull out the knife but dark purple energy swirls out. He successfully gets rid of the cursed dagger and the wound on Astrid's body slowly disappears. But the two friends get tied up for interrogation. They explain that the reason they're in the room is that Astrid looks like their friend and they want to save her. Barton, the army leader, refuses to believe them, but Bertha, the knight who witnessed their act, testifies about Yu and Haru's goodwill. Nos, the magic chancellor, suggests showing gratitude to the two, considering them heroes. Haru tries to find out if the princess is Katona, but the princess doesn't understand his questions. Later that night, Yu sneaks into the palace to check on Astrid. He overhears her conversation and learns that she loves sour oranges just like Katona. Astrid catches him as he's about to leave, and invites him to go with her to the Lake of Purity, where she can clean her body from the remains of the dark energy from the cursed dagger. They ride a magical flying boat and Yu can't help but feel amazed by the scenery. When they get there, he watches as she dances while her wounds heal completely. After the ritual, she asks him about Katona, and the two share details about each other's worlds. The next day, Yu and Haru receive an invitation from the king to display their skills in a sword fight, not knowing it's a test of their loyalty. Tons of fighters come to the arena to battle with them. The two pick up their swords and prepare to fight. Yu dodges their attacks with surprising speed. He notices Haru is cornered and rushes to protect him. They stand side by side and take down the opponents in perfect coordination. Nos stops the fight and orders them to come forward to the king. To their surprise, they are being arrested on suspicion of being assassins from the Black Banner, the enemies of the country. Having no other choice, Yu suggests going back to their world, believing they will be teleported back if they are about to die. Haru trusts his judgment, and both of them jump headfirst into flames. The tactic works. Back in their world now, Yu is forced back into his slow Tesla. Katona suddenly appears, unharmed, and Haru immediately hugs her in tears. They ask how she's doing and she mentions about witnessing a car accident the other day. According to her, 3 guys passed away. They look at the pictures in the news and notice that they look like the healers who tried to save Astrid. Yu remembers what the old man from the hospital told him about linked lives. Haru doesn't believe it as he thinks their experiences in the other world were just a crazy fever dream. But Yu believes that it's real. He thinks that the reason Katona is alive and well is that they saved Astrid. The next day, they look for Katona as she missed school and finds her at the hospital. Unexpectedly, she tells them that she has a tumor and only has 3 months left to live. The 2 friends are devastated. Yu wants to return to Evermore, reasoning that this must have happened because Astrid's life is at risk as well. However, Haru calls him crazy and thinks that maybe the princess was destined to die all along. But since they saved her, his girlfriend will now pay the price. He agrees to return to the other world, but this time, he will kill Astrid to save Katona. Yu strongly opposes him as he believes there's a way to save both lives. They teleport back to the other world, but in separate places this time. Yu reappears at the palace, warning them that Astrid's life is in danger. They refuse to believe him, but he explains that when Astrid's life was saved, Katona got saved as well. He also thinks that Bertha looks like his adoptive sister Saki. Barton reveals that Haru was seen with the Black Banner. Yu can't believe it and denies the accusation. He begs the king and Nos to believe him. Luckily, Nos takes his side and grants him a sword to be Astrid's protector. In return, he needs to kill Haru to prove his allegiance. Astrid learns about what happened and insists to be killed by Yu to save Katona. However, he refuses and says that it's wrong to take someone's life to save another. Although he doesn't know how their lives are linked, he wants to save both girls, even if it will cost him his life. The Black Banner army breaks through the gates of the palace. Haru is part of them, rallying the enemies to kill the princess. On the other side, Yu commands the knights to protect the princess at all costs, before rushing to the battlefield to face off with Haru. He tries to stop him as Katona may also die once he kills the princess. But Haru seems like he's out of his mind and blinded by his desire to save his girlfriend. He even threatens to kill Yu, his own best friend, if he gets in his way. The 2 wield their swords and begin attacking each other. Haru still argues that he's doing it for the sake of Katona, but Yu doesn't back down because he wants to protect Astrid. He strikes Haru hard enough to knock him down, then points his sword at him and begs him to stop fighting. But Haru tells him to kill him, because if not, he will kill Astrid. Yu grits his teeth and strikes his sword as Haru does the same. He wonders how did they end up trying to kill each other when they lived their whole lives being best friends. At the brink of death, they get teleported and find themselves in their original world again, where Katona's condition has gotten worse. Yu tries to reason with Haru, explaining that any action done in one world has a similar consequence in the other. But Haru continues to be stubborn and refuses to believe him. Suddenly, a memory flashes in Yu's mind. He remembers Bertha being taken by the enemies, her life at risk. He urges Haru to come with him to check on his sister Saki. They arrive just in time to see the assassin who stabbed Katona about to strike Saki. Yu throws a pot at him and they hurriedly escape the scene. The assassin transforms into a large spider, and the 2 inform Saki about the other world. Saki mentions that the assassin called her Sis Saki, whereas only Yu and Haru call her that. Finally, Haru realizes that he was wrong. If he kills Astrid, Katona will die too. They teleport back to Evermore. Yu confronts the king, Astrid, and Nos. He reveals that the mastermind behind all the attacks is none other than the magic chancellor, Nos himself. He reasons that by using a cursed dagger to kill the princess, the suspect knew about the royal aegis, a spell protecting Astrid. And he also knew Saki's nickname, which is only used by them. That information is only known within the palace, so it must be an inside job. Nos denies the accusation as there is no evidence to prove it. But Yu adds that Nos shares the same magical scent as the cursed dagger. Astrid orders him to show his body. Cornered, Nos takes his clothes off and reveals the curse marks from the royal aegis, confirming their suspicions. He unleashes a dark aura and reveals his identity as the leader of Black Banner, Galaroth. Not only that, he's also Sedulous, the king's older brother who is supposed to be dead. He was killed by his own father in the past, but was born again with alchemy, and now he wants revenge. He plans to kill Astrid to take her powerful magic and become the new king. Nos transforms himself into Galaroth and casts a spell to control Haru to have him kill the princess. Haru's body acts on its own and moves to attack Astrid, but Yu blocks his path. He dodges an attack, and to everyone's surprise, a white light glows from his palm that blasts Haru away, dispelling the control magic. But Galaroth manages to take Astrid hostage. Yu tries to attack him, but his sword can't penetrate the barrier between them. They follow the villain to the garden outside, and Galaroth destroys the palace. Yu quickly protects Astrid from the falling rocks, but he gets struck by a spear through his back. He shouts in pain, and Haru quickly pulls it out from his body, like an idiot, as his friend starts losing blood even faster. Galaroth waits patiently as they take him somewhere safer, but with no medical assistance whatsoever, as he continues to struggle to live. Astrid kisses his forehead and apologizes to him. Before he can react, he sees her and Haru heading off to fight Galaroth. His vision gets blurry, and he suddenly sees the old man from the hospital again. The man approaches him and asks if he's afraid of death. Yu replies that he is, but what scares him more is his failure to protect the ones he loves. The man gives him his cane, telling him that only a hero can wield it. Yu takes the cane and is surprised when it glows with magic. Galaroth transforms into a huge monster. He grips the princess and tries to squeeze power out of her. As Galaroth threatens to kill Haru, Yu blocks his attack with the cane. He tries his hardest to fight him with the determination to protect the ones he cherishes. The cane emits a blinding light and turns into the legendary Mornstar sword, a weapon that can deal immense damage, and it heals Yu of his fatal wound. To steer clear of the sword, Galaroth flies high into the air with the princess. Yu asks the help of a giant bird, and it flies him up to the enemy. He slices Galaroth's arm with Mornstar, then catches Astrid and lands them back down safely. Galaroth chases them, but Yu blocks his attacks with his blade. He swiftly dodges his strikes and deals his own. Changing tactics, the villain targets Astrid instead, engulfing her in a dark beam. Yu tries to protect her but gets struck from behind. He drops to the ground as Galaroth grins at his victory. However, he notices that Yu's sword is missing, and when he turns, Haru is charging at him and pierces the sword straight through his head. Galaroth vanishes into dust, and they successfully defeat him. A portal back to their world appears, and it's revealed that they were only able to travel back and forth due to Galaroth's power. But now that he's gone, they won't be able to come back anymore after leaving. Astrid thanks them and bids them a final goodbye. Haru grabs Yu since they need to hurry, or else the gateway will close before they can return to their world. Astrid says that she will never forget Yu and that she wished to be forever by his side. He's hesitant to go, but she says that they will die if they stay in her world. Yu bids his goodbye to Astrid, but while on their way back, he apologizes to Haru and lets go of his hand. Haru screams his name, but his friend smiles and says farewell to him. Haru wakes up in the human world and finds that the memory of Yu is slowly disappearing from the people they know. And that's when it hits him, Yu and him are one. The moment that the plane crash happened was when Yu arrived in the human world, and he had come to save him. They are the same person, belonging to different worlds. But despite that, they grew up together and became best friends, even falling in love with the same person, Katona for him and Astrid for Yu. Their lives have been linked all along. In the other world, Yu marries Astrid and becomes the new king. Watch this next video.